Today, I am going to start with covering my board, and I'm going to cover my board in some white fondant. So I'm also going to need some edible glue. I need to make that. And to make my edible glue, I'm going to mix a little bit of water with just a tiny bit of Tylose powder. So I'm just going to put a little bit in there, just a tiny bit. And I'm going to mix that up. And this fondant that I'm using is, some of it was satin ice and some of it is Fondex. I'm just getting rid of some old fondant that I have. To roll out my fondant, I need to get some edible glue on my board. And these brushes you can get at the craft store. They're made by Wilton. All right, so I'm going to dust my countertop. This is powdered sugar mixed with cornstarch. And I'm going to roll this out with my rolling pin. And if you get any air bubbles in your fondant, you just need to get those out with a little pin. Just prick it with the pin and get it out. I want it about the same size as this, a little bit bigger than my board. I think I'm going to just drape it over my rolling pin. Pick this up and move this over. And then I'm going to unroll it. There we go. So next I need to just cut away the excess fondant. I always love covering my board in fondant because it's just so much prettier. If you're covering your cake in fondant, you should think about covering the board too. And then I'm going to go ahead and just cut out the center because my cake is going to go right here. And when I lay my cake down on this board, I want the board that the cake is sitting on to like stick down onto this, so it will stay. So, all right, just like that. So since I like my board to be hardened, I don't want it to be soft, I'm going to go ahead and bake it in the oven for about 15 minutes at 170 degrees. It's the lowest your oven can get. All right, so since my ears need to dry out and they need to be standing up on their own, I need to add some Tylose powder to it. That's this. Just like that. And this will help it dry out and give it some stability and just help it stand, because fondant on its own won't really stand up. It will kind of like fall over and it won't dry out. So I'm just going to mix a little bit of this into my fondant, about that much, and I'm going to knead it in. Okay, and I'm going to roll this out. Next, I'm going to use my templates to trace around and make the bunny ears. So I'm going to put the paper on top of my fondant. Actually, let me roll it a tiny bit thinner, just a little thinner. And I'm going to lay my ears right on top. And then I'm going to cut around it using my X-Acto knife. And I'm just carefully cutting around my ear. Okay, so for the inside of my bunny ears, I want that part to be pink, just like these. So I need to color a little bit of fondant pink. And then I need to cut out my template. So I want to cut out just this pink part to use as my template. And then I'm going to hold my template up to my fondant and cut out 2 ears, 2 more. I'm just gonna brush a little bit of my edible glue onto my bunny ears, right in the middle. Just a light amount, not too much. It just needs a tiny bit. And then I'm gonna put the pink part into place. There we go, that's cute. So I think I want one of the ears to kind of be bent a little. So I'm gonna curve it up. I just thought that might make it look pretty cute. So I need a paper towel. And I'm just gonna use the paper towel to like help hold it into place. I'm kind of pinching the bottom of my ears because I think it might look kind of cute like that if they're kind of tapered at the bottom. And I'm gonna put those aside to dry. So I just pulled out my board. It was cooking for 15 minutes and it's still kind of warm and it needs to just sit and dry and cool off. So I'm gonna set it right there. To stack my cake and to fill my cake, I'm gonna start with a flexible plastic mat. And then I need a board that's the same size of my cake, so that will go right on the bottom, right down there. And my cakes, I originally made 2 7-inch chocolate cakes, and then I thought maybe I would add just a tiny bit of cinnamon cake in the middle. I don't know why, I just thought that might be good. So I made these chocolate cakes last night, and the recipe is the one from Yolanda Gamp. It's her chocolate cake recipe. I really love it. And it's so easy, really, really easy to make. And then once I take it out of the oven, I let it sit for about 5 minutes, and then I wrap it up in plastic wrap, and then I put it in the freezer. And that will help lock in all the moisture so it doesn't dry out. Okay, so next I'm going to take my serrated knife and I'm going to cut off the top of the cake. So I'm going to take my knife and I'm going to score it right around the top edge. Just like that. And I'm just going to keep turning my turntable and cutting that top of the cake off. And then you'll get this part that comes right off, all straight. All right, so to cut this in half, it's called torting, actually, or some people call it leveling the cake. So you just take your knife and you score it right through the middle. Just go one time around, scoring it, and then the next time around, you kind of start going in further into the cake, just while rotating on the turntable. And then, eventually, your knife will go all the way through, and then you have this beautiful cut cake. I'm going to start with these, and I'm going to put just a tiny bit of my coffee buttercream cappuccino. I'm just going to wipe a little bit on the board, and then I'm going to start moving the cake over. Okay, and then I'm going to add a layer of buttercream frosting. Okay, so I got that on there, and then I'm just going to spread it out. Make it nice and even. Just like that. Okay, and then I'm going to move my next cake layer over right on top of that one. So this cinnamon cake is left over from my last project. I can't remember what it was. Oh, the Super Mario cake. And I thought the cinnamon cake would taste good with my chocolate. Okay, so I'm just going to do one layer of cinnamon cake. So I'm going to cut this top part off. So then I'm going to move this one on top of that. And then I'm going to add another layer of my cappuccino buttercream. Okay, and then I'm going to add my final layer of chocolate cake. Okay, yeah, cute. And then I'm going to start covering it with a crumb coat of my frosting. So just like a little layer of buttercream frosting, and this will like pick up all the crumbs on the outside. So this is called a bench scraper, and I'm just going to run it along the side of my cake, just so I can make sure it's nice and smooth and straight, and the icing is smooth. So I just run this across, and I can see where I need more frosting. Like it looks like I need a little bit more on the top edge. Okay, and then I'm going to pop this into the refrigerator. It needs to chill, and once it chills, I'm going to do another layer of buttercream. Okay, so this is my fondant that I mixed up earlier. So I have some pink and some white fondant. And I'm going to make some little bunny feet. So first I want to just knead my fondant so it gets soft. Okay, so I need 2 balls that are about the same size. Just like that. They look kind of the same size, almost. This is just like a little plastic fondant tool. And I'm going to make some little indentions to make it look like a little bunny paw. Just right there, maybe right there. There, that looks pretty cute. I'm going to use this one. I need 2 circles with this bigger cutter. And then 6 of these. So then I'm going to stick my little circles onto my bunny feet. Just with a little bit of my edible glue that I made earlier. The edible glue is made of water and a little bit of Tylose powder mixed into it. Okay, so then they look like this. Isn't that so cute? It's adorable. Gonna dust this with a little bit of this sparkle dust. I think I'll get it a little bit wet with my glue. Oops, that's too much. Just a little. Just to make it a little bit sparkly. Oh, it's kind of sparkly. I don't know if you can see it. So cute. Okay, for my eyes, I'm going to just roll out a log of fondant. Okay, so I'm cutting out 2 little logs of fondant like this and working on the eyes. And I want them to be kind of pointy at both ends. I'll let those dry over here with my paws. Just on this little cardboard. Okay. Okay, so next, I am going to work on the bunny nose. It's like the bunny cheeks, whatever they're called. Bunny nose. That's what I'll call it. So I'm going to need pink fondant and my white. So I need 2 white balls. So I just want to roll it into a ball. It might be too big, I'm not sure. And then I would like a pink nose for my bunny. So I have my bunny nose made. It looks like that. That's cute. See? That's So cute. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to paint my eyes in gold. So to make a dust into paint, you need some alcohol. You just pour a tiny bit of alcohol into a bowl, just a little. And then you pour in a little bit of the gold dust. And you make a little edible paint. And this dust is called Roxy and Rich Soft Gold, and it's FDA approved, so it's totally good. So I'm just gonna mix up my alcohol. It's vodka and dust. It's a little bit too thin, so I'm gonna add some more of my dust. Just a little. I don't want to waste any. So when you do this, when you paint using something like vodka or Everclear, you brush it on and then the alcohol evaporates and then you're left with a beautiful paint on your surface. Just like that. And then you can let it dry and then add another coat. Okay, while my cake is chilling, I think I'm gonna add some little polka dots to my board. I think it would be really cute to do that. I'm just gonna use some different circle cutters to make some little polka dots. Just like that. And then I'm going to attach my teal dots to the board too. This is always a hard part, covering it in fondant. The top a little bit. And then I'm going to use my rolling pin. This is from Wilton. I'm going to roll it out. And I keep turning it. Let's see. So I'm going to roll it, drape it over my rolling pin, and then I'm going to unroll it on my cake. Very carefully. Okay, so first I'm going to run my hand on the top and then go around this edge to make sure it is sharp on that top edge. And then I'm going to start working my way down the sides. And then anywhere I see one of these creases, I'm just going to open it up and then run my palm down the side. So then I turn it and then I do the same right here. And I just keep turning and working my way down the side of the cake. This is kind of hard to do and it's scary, and it took me a lot of years to figure out how to do this. And I still mess up all the time, and I always have to like peel it off and redo it. But it's okay if that happens. It happens to everybody. Just keep on going, turning and opening. Just like that. And then I'm going to smooth it out with my fondant smoother. And then I'm going to go around the sides just to make it nice and smooth. Okay, so this is like a little mini palette knife that I have. And I'm going to cut around the side to get rid of this extra fondant. You can use an X-Acto knife or like a paring knife, whatever you have. The first time around, when I cut it, I go a little bit outside of where I think I need to cut, just in case, because I don't want to cut off too much. Okay, and then I'm going to cut it again and just try to make a nice little edge at the bottom. Okay, so I'm going to move my cake over onto my board. In order to get it to stick, I need to add some melted chocolate. They're actually called candy melts. So I'm going to pour some of my chocolate onto my board, just like that. And then I'm going to pull my cake to the edge of the countertop. Thank you, Skip. I appreciate that. And then I'm gonna pick up my cake with my spatula and very carefully move it. Okay, there we go. While this is sitting here, you have like a couple seconds to move it around until the chocolate sets up. So I like to just make sure it's in the middle real quick. Make sure it's centered. I'm just gonna wipe a little bit of my chocolate on the back of this little bunny paw. Just like that. And then I'm gonna press it onto my cake. Maybe right there. Maybe over. Okay, I'm attaching the other little cheek. Thank you, Pixel Dust. And then this is my bunny nose. I'm going to stick that on with some more chocolate. Let's see, so I'm going to wipe the back of this with some edible glue. And then I'm going to stick it on. Let me see if that's a good spot. Is that good, you guys? That looks cute so far. And I'm just going to use these flat popsicle sticks, and I'm going to stick it on the back of my bunny's ears. That's some pro work right there, girl. Thank you, King Russell. All right, so I got some chocolate on the back of this. And I'm gonna stick it on the back of my ear. Sort of like a glue. Okay, so these are like paper covered wires, and I'm gonna make some whiskers for my bunny. Okay, so I'm going to take my wire and I'm just gonna cut them down. I need about 6 whiskers probably. Okay, I'm going to stick my wires into these little cheeks and make some whiskers. So I'm going to stick these in carefully. Okay, so I got these flowers at just the grocery store. And it's not really something that you eat. It's just like a regular flower. So it's not food safe. So you have to create a barrier between the flour and the cake. So I'm cutting off the flour, and then I'm gonna dip this in my melted chocolate just so that my flour is not actually touching the cake. So I'm just dipping it in the chocolate. Yeah, that looks cute. Okay, and then my final detail is the tail. And then I'm just going to stick it on the back. I really love adding a ribbon to the bottom of my board. It just Makes it so much more prettier and finishes it off. There we go. Ta-da! There it is, my bunny cake. Easter bunny cake. It turned out cute.